I feel like in this chapter, the gods were like, we're so bored, just fix it.
The genealogy of the royal house of Troy at the end is really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in the end of the book.
Priam equals Hecuba.
Married.
Equals Hecuba.
There's a whole pronouncing glossary that we blatantly ignored, for instance.
That's good. That's good. Well, now there's like 100 pages of translation notes. Let's read all the translation notes now. Why don't we?
Let's not. Let's instead hear what happens after the Iliad to the Trojan War and then to all of our characters. So where are they now? Starting with the Trojan War.
Trojan War. Whoa.
So shortly after the burial of Hector comes a scene that I wish we got to see. It's when Penthesilea, the queen of the Amazons, arrives with her warriors to fight for Troy. And they start mowing down the Achaeans, and they're just like awesome Amazon warrior women.
Let's show Avengers, bro! Let's show Avengers! Let's show an endgame scene. That's lit.
Yep.
I honestly feel like they robbed us of this.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Homer, you're making such big mistakes.
Why would he put strong women in this?
You're right. I expect too much from him.
He doesn't even put strong men in it. He's like, these men are so weak.
Rhetoric, exactly.
Definitely there's misogyny there, but also if Homer was like, and war is bad, and we need to make peace, and we need to grieve our trauma, but also then these ladies sweep in and they're murdering everybody, and it's really awesome. Yeah. I love it.
And keep in mind that Homer did write this scene. It's just in a book that has been lost to time. So it's in a sequel that we don't have. He did write it. Yeah.
That's it.
Anyway, she shows up. They're awesome. Achilles is still fighting in the war. He ends up killing her. And when he takes off her armor to take her armor, he sees her and falls in love with her because she's so beautiful. So don't worry, it's still gross.
It's so gross.
Then the callback of all callbacks. Do you remember in book 2, 5 months ago, when there was this guy who was super ugly and everyone hated him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
He comes back. They're CDs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Wikipedia calls him a simple soldier and the ugliest Achaean.
Oh, I love that. Oh, man.
So Achilles is feeling bad because he killed this beautiful woman who was cool and awesome, and he's sad that he killed her. And he just makes fun of Achilles for falling in love with this woman right away, and then gouges out the Amazon queen's eyes.
Jesus.
And then Achilles kills him.
He is badass though. Oh my god. He's like, I'm so ugly, everyone should be ugly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Damn, what a legend.
So that's the end of the Amazon Queen. That's the end of Thersites, the ugly man from book 2.
Oh my god.
Then Achilles chases the Trojans to their city, which he enters, and the gods decide that it's time for him to die because he's getting too close. He's killing too many of their children. So that is when Paris shoots him with a poisoned arrow guided by Apollo. There's several different versions of that. The Achilles heel is only in some of them, and some of them Paris just shoots him in the chest or in the back. There's even one version when Achilles falls in love with one of Priam's daughters, and Priam agrees to the marriage thinking that it will end the war. But then Paris, knowing that if they do get married, will have to give back Helen, shoots Achilles in the back right before they get married, therefore making the war go on even longer.
Magic.
I don't like these sequels. If Homer ended it here, I'd be like, great.
Regardless, Achilles dies. Achilles is shot by Paris, helped by Apollo. He's always helped by Apollo. Paris never does it on his own. Paris sucks too much to do it on his own.
Paris sucks, dude.
So after the 10th year, they receive a prophecy that Troy cannot fall without Achilles' son and Hercules' bow, which is with Philoctetes in Lemnos. Philoctetes, famously played by Danny DeVito in the Hercules movie.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they have to go get Danny DeVito. Odysseus and Diomedes go and retrieve Philoctetes, who used to fight in the Trojan War. He left early because he was wounded. His wound is now healed. Philoctetes, with Pericles' bow, kills Paris. Yay! Now Paris is dead. The war is still going on. What's happening with Helen? Well, Paris's brothers, Helenus and Deiphobus, who I mentioned would be important, fight over Helen, and Deiphobus wins and marries Helen. And Helenus leaves. Now, in the same prophecy that they were told they needed Achilles' son and Pericles' bow, they were also told that if Troy has this statue of Athena, Troy cannot fall. So Odysseus sneaks in and steals the Athena statue. He's disguised as a beggar, and Helen meets up with him, and Helen, who is homesick and super mad, and also Paris is dead, plots with Odysseus and helps him get out the statue.
That's pretty sick. I like that.
Odysseus also goes to retrieve Neoptolemus, son of Achilles. He's also called Pyrrhus for his red hair. He was hiding in King Lycomedes' court in Skyros, and Odysseus gives him Achilles' armor. So here comes in the son of Achilles. He's about 12 years old. Now comes in the end of the war with the final lovely plan of Odysseus's Trojan Horse. You might have heard of it.
No.
What is it? What is it? Like a virus? What is it?
Not one.
Or is it like a chocolate?
So they make this big horse. They pretend that it was the Greeks giving a thank you offering to Athena as they return home. So the rest of the Greeks pretend to leave. They're just like around the corner. Odysseus, Diomedes, and a few others, as well as Achilles' son, hide inside the Trojan horse. Obviously, the Trojans are like, well, they left. That's awesome. So they bring the horse inside the city, and then they try to figure out what to do. Some of them want to just throw it onto the rocks, which would have been the correct decision. But they decide to keep it and dedicate it to Athena. Cassandra, who I mentioned, always knows the future and is never believed, predicted that they should not keep the horse, and no one listened to her.
They blew it.
So they keep the horse, and then the Trojans get mad, raving drunk. They have a giant party. And then in the middle of that, when the moon is high in the sky, the soldiers get out of the horse, kill the guards, and a giant massacre continued into the next morning. Achilles' son kills Priam. So Priam is now dead, killed by Achilles' son. Menelaus kills Deiphobus, who was Helen's third husband, I suppose. He also went to kill Helen. After this whole war spent to get Helen back, he goes to kill Helen, but is overcome by her beauty, throws down his sword, and takes her to the ships. Meanwhile, Ajax the Lesser, smaller Ajax, is raping Cassandra on Athena's altar while she was clinging to the statue.
Ooh, Ajax, that's not a good look, bro. Oof.
The Achaeans want to stone him to death for doing this. Odysseus leads that charge, really wants to stone him to death, but Ajax flees and hides, and they can't find him, so they can't stone him to death. He'll come back in a second.
Oh, don't. Oof.
So the Greeks burn Troy to the ground. They divide the spoils. They split up the wives. Cassandra is given to Agamemnon. Achilles' son, again, is 12. He gets Andromache, the wife of Hector.
What?
And Odysseus. Odysseus gets Hecuba, Priam's wife. Now, what happened to Astyanax, Hector's son? Well, the Achaeans threw him down off the walls of Troy out of cruelty and hate to end the royal line and possibly end the possibility of a son's revenge. They also sacrificed the Trojan princess Polyxena on the grave of Achilles. Now, she was the one that, in one of the versions of the myth, Achilles was going to marry and then was killed at before he could marry her to end the war. So this was either because she betrayed him and told Paris about that, or because just as part of his share, part of Achilles' share. He gets Polysena in the afterlife.
Jesus Christ.
So that's the end of the Trojan War. After that, the Greeks head home. The Trojans are mostly dead. The Trojans that survived are split up, going off in different directions. So let's see what happens to each of our young/old characters. So we know what happened to Achilles. He dies. After he dies, his bones are mingled with those of Patroclus. And we do get to see Achilles in the Odyssey when Odysseus goes to the afterlife. He and Patroclus are happy in death together.
Cute.
But Achilles does have a great line in the Odyssey in which he says, "I would rather be a slave on earth than the king of the underworld." And he is basically saying to Odysseus, don't throw away your life. Don't die. It's not that great. Stay alive as long as you can.
I like that.
It also shows that all the glory that Achilles got wasn't really worth it, which is kind of Odysseus's character arc in the Odyssey, learning that, all this fame and glory is not actually worth it.
Oh.
So that's Achilles. Now on to King Priam. Priam was killed. He was about 80 years old by Achilles' son. Achilles' son first killed another one of Priam's son in front of him. In some versions, Achilles' son clubs Priam to death with the corpse of Hector's son, Astyanax.
That is specific.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Wow. I don't like it.
How about Agamemnon? We know that he took Cassandra as his wife. I told you Agamemnon would be getting his comeuppance. Well, here it is. So he goes home with Cassandra, his new wife. He takes her with him, thinking that will go over well. He comes home and sees that his original wife, Clytemnestra, has taken Aegisthus as a lover. And pretty much as soon as Agamemnon walks in the door, he is murdered. In some of the myths by his wife, in some by her lover.
Wow.
In some of the myths because she's jealous about Cassandra, and some of the myths because he doesn't want to give up his new wife. But in the one that I call canon in my own head, it's because Clytemnestra is angry because Agamemnon killed their daughter just to ensure that they would have safe passage to Troy 10 years ago. So really, she's just sad because he killed their daughter, as anyone would be.
Okay. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
This murdering just keeps going.
Yeah. Paris, we know, was killed by Philoctetes with the bow of Heracles.
Hell yeah.
How about Ajax the Greater before we get to the worse, Ajax the Lesser?
Boy.
Telamonian Ajax, the one who was so cool, did so many awesome things. Well, after Achilles' death, his armor was up for grabs. They decided it should go to the best of the Greeks. It came down to Odysseus and Ajax the Greater. So they competed by giving speeches over who was the bravest.
Wait, they had a campaign over who's going to get the armor?
Yeah.
They held elections over who's going to get the armor. Were they also good?
So basically it's decided that Odysseus is more deserving of the armor. And Ajax is furious. And he starts cursing out Odysseus. And Odysseus's main girl, Athena, is very mad at that. So she curses Ajax. Ajax goes crazy and thinks that a pair of sheep are Agamemnon and Menelaus. And he just starts murdering these sheep. And after a while, Athena lifts the madness. Ajax realizes that he's made a fool of himself in front of the entire army and immediately commits suicide.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that part.
Yeah.
Damn, Athena did him that dirty.
Yeah.
Well, he did himself dirty.
Yeah, whatever.
That's probably one of the worst ones, but we got some happy stories too, don't worry. Odysseus, see the Odyssey. It takes a long time for him to get home. Once he does, he lives in happiness for the rest of his days with his son. Speaking of his son, he shows up in Helen. Helen, what is she up to after the Trojan War? Well, she goes back to Sparta with Menelaus. And after a few years, Odysseus' son, Telemachus, shows up and asks her what's up. And she tells him that basically she's living in happiness with Menelaus. He forgived her, and they're just in love again and living the dream in Sparta. It's harmonious. It's lovely. So that's cool.
That's it.
You're muted, Allison.
I was saying you forgave her for being kidnapped?
Yeah, I mean, in some of the myths, she goes willingly, so it's whatever. But basically, they're hunky-dory again.
Hunky-dory.
So Diomedes, his is interesting. He does a lot of different stuff. Pretty much, he just starts traveling. He founds a bunch of cities in Italy, what is now Italy. He also, when he dies, a bunch of albatrosses show up and sing a song for him. And also, everyone who's really sad, like his companions, get turned into albatrosses. And now the genus name for albatross is Diomedea, coming from Diomedes.
What did she say?
Whoa!
That's really cool. That's pretty awesome.
It
Yeah.
sounds like it's becoming fan fiction
Yeah, honestly.
as you keep reading.
I mean, history is fanfic, bro.
I mean,
We're just.
Oh, and also, after he dies, Diomedes is given immortality by Athena. He basically becomes a god. There were many cults that worshipped Diomedes as a god in Greece, which is pretty cool.
Wow, I like that.
So Ajax the Lesser, what does he get for raping Cassandra so brutally, so evilly? He never returns home. His ship was wrecked by a storm sent by Athena. Remember, it was in Athena's temple that Cassandra was attacked. She was not going to have that. She took one of Zeus's lightning bolts and tore his ship to pieces. The crew manages to land on a rock, but Poseidon then struck the rock, and Ajax falls in the sea and drowns.
Pretty solid death. Pretty solid death.
Now Nestor, the oldest of the Greeks, he did well. He had a fast and safe return. He got home. His army came home as well, and then they later left and colonized Metapontium in southern Italy.
Oh, so
That's
he
it. Just went home.
just lived the rest of his life. Solid. That's rather good.
Yeah. Now Achilles' son lived the rest of his days accompanied by Andromache, Hector's wife, Hector's widow. He and Odysseus buried Achilles' teacher Phoenix on the way home. He died apparently at some point. Achilles' son had a child by Andromache, Molossus, who later took the throne.
Oh.
And through Molossus, through Achilles' son Neoptolemus, eventually Alexander the Great is said to have been descended by them.
What?
And yeah, at least that's what he claimed.
That's great. Oh, that's kind of sick. So he claimed that he was grandson of Achilles?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
And therefore also in the same line, complicatedly, also from Heracles. So Alexander the Great is said to be descended from Heracles and Achilles.
Legend.
Yeah.
Fitting.
Okay, wait, for 1 second. How old is Hector's widow?
I mean, she'd be like nearly 40, probably.
Like, my husband fucking died and got dragged around the city, and we finally were able to bury him, and now I'm being given to a 12-year-old.
Yep.
Yep, who's constantly killing still. People.
Okay, I just wanted to really marinate on that for a moment.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, you have the creme blazer.
And then finally, Aeneas, who is not that important in the Iliad, goes off to have his own story called the Aeneid by Virgil, and he basically founded Italy. And his sons are Romulus and Remus, or his grandsons. He then found Rome.
Wolf boys.
And that is it. That's where they are now.
That's sick. That's read classics, guys. Or else how will you know about albatrosses' names and shit? How are we gonna learn about that stuff?
Where the I'm an Albatross song comes from?
the rhyme.
Song.
Ancient Mariner's Rhyme? Rhyme of the Ancient.
It's probably from the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. But
Actually, I'm not sure. There's just a song that goes, "I'm an albatross," and it doesn't actually.
Albatross. Not that one.
No.
By Aaron Chupa.
Yeah.
1.2 billion views. This is it has nothing to do with Iliad. This song. It's just taking like.
I could probably have guessed that.
yeah.
Yeah. All I know is that it's on TikTok, but like that.
I've had ideas.
I know.
Either way.
I don't know how to end it.
It's
Well,
crazy.
Over, bro.
It's crazy.
I brought a prop.
Oh,
Oh, yo,
Prop.
Prop Wars. Wait,
is it an olive?
It's actually even better, I think.
Oh.
It is to end our war and reading.
Rest in peace.
The sprig of olive branch.
Oh my god! What? Where did you find that?
We have an olive tree.
You could have tried a raw olive this whole time.
It hasn't so far produced any olives. We've had it for like a year and a half.
Oh. See, because you don't believe in him.
You've kept a secret.
Believe in him.
It's my mom's tree, and she believes.
Traitor.
Did you also just have a glass of honeyed wine at the ready?
No, I actually wanted to have wine like 2 seconds before I hopped on this video call. So I was like, we don't have any wine. So I threw it together. It ended up being kind of like a pomegranate margarita. And it's
that was
like
pretty solid.
pretty dank for not
Pretty dank.
Oh.
This margarita's dank.
It's very suiting that the stage manager has all the props in order.
Actually, yeah.
What else am I supposed to do when there's no theater happening?
The closest we've gotten to.
This is your theater. All right, we're all dressed up. We're all ready. All right. Well, next episode we're gonna act out the entirety of Iliad
Where did this also come from?
in one go. Look, I'm Paris.
We will never take the streets of Troy.
Yes, I will. I got him.
That's our interpretation of the Iliad live action.
Wow.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you liked that.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh no.
Under threat.
Did you like, comment, and subscribe? Oh, wow, that was actually. Well, before I break my camera, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Just like in Lord of the Rings when they shot Brother.
Just like
Brother, bro.
Brother.
Good old brother, bro. Well, I finally learned his name, Boromir. God damn it.
yeah,
Boromir.
Finally learned his goddamn name.
I do like brother though.
Rest in
Yeah.
peace, bro.
Yeah,
Yes, rest in peace to Iliad, man.
yeah, dude.
That's done.
Rest
I'm
in
never
peace.
gonna read this again.
What?
I don't think I'm gonna read this book again, to be honest with you. But it has been wonderful. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome. It's been a
I
journey.
appreciate that. This has been literally start to finish of Corona, right? Like, this is our
Yeah.
Corona Odyssey. Like, this is. Oh,
It's a
God.
big book. I mean, but now you've done it, and you can say for the rest of your lives that you've read the Iliad. And that's pretty
Honestly, I'm happy. I'm happy to have been done with it, and that was actually very enjoyable. I thought it was gonna be a lot more painful.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense. That was actually quite pleasant.
I think
Thanks
it's like
to
with the
friends.
context. Yeah.
Mm.
It can be hard to do it on your own. So I think it's good that we did it with friends.
Yeah, I wouldn't read this. I wouldn't read this on my own. But on a similar note, Song of Achilles, I recommend you read on your own. Everyone, this podcast sponsored by Song of Achilles.
No, it's not.
It's not. Well, this podcast sponsors Song of Achilles. Free advertisement. The ad revenue is crazy. Great book.
Speaking of books that you should read, everybody should purchase Christina's short story compendium.
I've been
Definitely
asking for
a
it.
sponsor.
I've been asking. Yeah, that's both ways.
Yes.
I've been asking for it for a while. Can you put that on the Japanese Amazon?
It's coming in your package that we sent you.
Oh, oh!
I'm about to fucking cry. Yo.
Y'all actually sent it back? Oh my god.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's coming.
Okay.
It's a signed copy.
Wow.
Yo, y'all jealous, bro? Ooh.
Christina's book club.
Oh, we really don't have to do that.
All right, so next time, guys, please write in the comments which one of Christina's books should we go read as a book
We should
club?
all just hold Christina hostage and compliment her endlessly.
Please
Honestly.
don't.
Let's just roast her. Be like, yo, you call that English? What is this? You call this letters?
I really liked Miss. It felt very visceral. The emotions were it was very visual and very emotional.
Oh my god, no spoilers. I haven't read it yet.
It had emotions in it. Spoiler
Does
alert.
Wait, is that the one at the end?
Emotion alert.
No, it's one in the middle somewhere.
Oh, okay.
I know you said you liked that one. Thank you.
I like that one a lot. This is very nice.
Which one?
This
You'll have to wait till you get the book, Murat.
You have to wait, Murat.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming to see the Iliad.
Adios. Till next time.
Until
Till
the
next time.
classic, chill
No.
and chill.
Edgar Allan Poe coming soon.
Oh,
Spooky time.
yeah.